And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey, Call to Glory is a game from White Goblin Games designed by Michael Schuck. And you might think, ooh, a new samurai game. Well, actually, this isn't new. This is a reprint of a game that Simply Fun came with Drive, which was a reprint of a game called Crazy Chicken. And maybe for all I know, there was another game before that. So obviously, when the game's been reprinted several times, it probably is going to be interesting to at least some people. But man, it's a samurai and incredible artwork. Let's take a look at it. In Call to Glory, each player is going to have a hand of cards, and then one player is going to start and play will pass around the table. You have two draw piles here, and the first thing you do in your turn is you draw two cards from any two piles. Well, here's the two piles. You draw these cards in your hand. Now, the cards are fantastic. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous, but there's a couple things. Each card has a number on it. That's the type of card that is, and the number in the corner shows how many points those cards are worth as a set, and also how many there are. So there's 20 of these cards, and they're worth 20 points. Then I either play a set down, or I discard a card. The first card you discard is here. And then players will continue to draw cards. Second card discarded is here. In the future, you can draw from the top pile of any discard pile. And so that's what players will be doing as the game progresses. They'll be drawing from the two draw piles. I don't know how that one got flipped. It's like a magic trick. And then, or you're drawing from these discard piles. Now, when you play a set of cards in front of you, you must play at least two cards in that set. So for example, I could play the ping pong ball head helmet ladies down here, 2 7s, or I could play 2 14s, or I could play 3 18s. I mean, I can play as many cards as I want, as long as I play at least two, and as long as they're all the same number. However, if somebody else has a set of cards down, I need to play more than them. So for example, let's say this person has 3 18s, someone else could play 4 18s, at which point I need to take my 3 18s and stick them in one of the discard piles. If I wanted to beat him later on, I would need to save up and play at least 5 18s down, in which case his 4 18s would go away. Now this will continue until one of two things happens. Until all 9 sets are out there, there's 9 different types of cards, or until one player has a certain number in front of them, and that number depends on how many people are involved in the game. After the game or the round ends, you will add up points for each. So here, let's say these 3 were in front of me, I would get 14 points, plus 7 points, plus 18 points. We'd add those together, we play a certain number of rounds. Whoever has the most points after the end of those rounds is the winner. There are 2 variants included with the game. One of the variants includes some plastic ninjas. Ooh, ninjas, those are cool. You get a pair of ninjas, or you get a ninja whenever you play a pair or more of ninja cards in front of you. Then you get to take a ninja and put it in front of yourself. Now, a ninja can be used on a future turn. Let's say my opponent has 3 green 16 cards in front of him. I have 3 green 16s in my hand. I want to play them, but I can't because I need 4. So I play the ninja to discard one of his 16s. It's now discarded, and now I can play my set. So the ninjas just allow you to do that. That's all that variant adds to the game. The other variant adds 3 different sets of cards. These cards are blue, red, and yellow. At the beginning of the game, each player is given one of these cards, and these tell you bonuses. You can see this is a bonus for the set of 9, a bonus for the set of 5, and a bonus for the set of 18. At the end of each round of the game, and if it's a 3-round game, at the end of each round, you must put one of these cards, reveal one of these cards. And whoever has the set of 7s is going to get 5 points for each 7 they have out there. So if they have 3 7s, they'll get a bonus 15 points. Here, if I had, let's say I had 5 18s, I would also get 15 points because they're worth 3. You must play one of these cards, and even if you don't have that set, so you might be giving someone else the point. There's 2 of each kind of the cards in the different sets, so you might have the same bonus as somebody else. You could even get a double bonus if you're real lucky, but that's the other variant. I should mention that the box itself is a tin, which is a little annoying. Not a big fan of tin boxes. I mean, they're beautiful and they're neat, three-dimensional, but they don't sit on the shelf real well and they don't stack very well. And this one in particular, for some reason, once the cards are in it, I have a hard time. I can get some of them out, but I can never get those bottom ones out. I actually have to dump everything out. And these ninjas snap nicely into their position, but if you turn it upside down, they don't actually even come out. Again, something else you have to kind of dig in there to get out. Not a big deal, but just wanted to bring that to your attention. Let's go to the opinion. Well, I liked Drive, so obviously I'm going to like Call to Glory. You know, 10 aside. Call to Glory is a neat game, and the whole concept is really fun about trying to beat other people. It's very light. It's one of those card games that it's not a trick-taking game, but it gives me that same kind of feel. I can sit around with some people and play it, and it's fun. One thing I like about Call to Glory is I think it works really well with 3 players, and pretty good with 2. 4 is decent, but 3 is the best, and 2 is probably the second best. It just really works well in those situations, and you're sitting back and playing. Let's talk about the variants, because that's basically the biggest change between this and the other games. And I've come to the conclusion that the variants are just necessary. Play with both of them. The ninjas, it gives that suit just a little bit more of an edge, because you might play ninjas just to get those ninjas to use them in the future. And those bonuses are nice because they kind of focus what you might want to go for, but at the same time, you're watching what your opponents do. Bonuses are a little odd in a 4-player game because there's just bonuses all over the place, but they do not wildly swing the points as much as you might think. But they do exist, and they do change the point levels. So, if you've ever played Drive or Crazy Chicken, I don't know that the variants are enough to want to get this version. The artwork might be. I mean, this Drive where you're collecting sets of cards, that was okay, but it's just beautiful. But it's a very good game. If I was picking a set of games to bring to for people to introduce them to the games that I like to play, and I want to introduce them, this would be one of the games that I would use, just because it's so simple, and you draw 2 cards, and there's some play, maybe you discard a card hoping to get it later, and then someone else figures it out and covers it up. It's kind of like halfway between a trick-taking game and the 10 Days Around the World series in a sense. It just flows so smoothly and yet so casually. So, a very good game, Call to Glory.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.